On stage, he revealed their divorce, but her calm smile held an incredible, life-changing secret. David stood backstage, heart pounding like a drum, the weight of his impending divorce clinging to him like a storm cloud. He could hear the laughter of neighbors and friends filtering through the wooden walls of the community theater, a vibrant space where dreams were born and stories spun. But all he could feel was the bitter taste of anxiety mixing with regret. This was supposed to be his big night, a career-defining performance that could finally propel him into the spotlight. But as he looked at those familiar faces, he weighed the fear of letting them down against the agony of breaking his children's hearts. The spotlight hit him squarely as he walked on stage. David grinned, cracking a few jokes to warm up the crowd. Laughter erupted, echoing around him, filling him with a rush of adrenaline. For a moment, he felt buoyed by the joy he could bring. But then the words spilled out, unexpectedly, like the punchline to a joke he never intended to tell. "You know, my wife Sarah and I are getting divorced," he said, and just like that, the laughter turned into a stunned silence. Awkward murmurs replaced the warmth in the room. David's heart raced as he scanned the audience, familiar faces twisted in disbelief. He thought of his children, who were still dreaming of the future he and Sarah had once painted together. They had always been the center of their universe, blissfully unaware that the bright colors of their family portrait were now fading into sepia tones of heartbreak. What he didn't know was that Sarah was sitting in the fourth row, quietly absorbing every word. Her calm smile was a fortress against the storm of memories flooding her heart. She remembered the late-night conversations and tearful decisions, the balancing of love and responsibility that had shaped their lives. Her daughter, blissfully innocent, still believed in fairy tales where love conquers all. In that moment, Sarah felt a surge of hope and purpose. She had been fighting against the stereotype of the single mom, working herself up the corporate ladder while David chased his comedy dreams. Their love hadn't always aligned, but she knew how hard they'd both fought for their family. As David stumbled through the awkward realization of his truth, vulnerability seeped into his performance. The crowd shifted uneasily, unsure how to respond. His humor morphed into raw honesty, threading through the air like the notes of a poignant melody. "What if," he paused, voice trembling slightly, "the dreams we chase are meant to teach us something we didn't know?" It was a moment of connection, a conversation sparking between grief and growth, the ultimate irony of finding laughter in sadness. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As he wrapped up, tears threatened to spill, but there was hope, too. Sarah's presence transformed the atmosphere, reminding him that they weren't just two people drifting apart but a family facing tough times. Had he really wrecked their chances? His heart ached, and he could see his neighbors processing this revelation, concerned whispers and concerned faces surrounding the dim stage. With the performance drawing to an end, an uneasy energy lingered, a potent mix of love, loss, and uncertainty. Could David brave the uncharted waters ahead? As he looked into the crowd, Sarah's steady gaze grounded him, leaving him to grapple with the biggest question of all: would love endure through their struggles, or would it ultimately extinguish their shared dreams? David left the stage with shaky legs, a whirlwind of emotions still swirling around him. The laughter had faded, but echoes of honesty lingered in the dimly lit theater. He could see the worried expressions on the faces of neighbors, longtime friends who smiled at him just hours before. Their kindness had turned to pity, and he could do little but bow his head, wishing he could rewind history and erase his painful slip. In the wings, he found Sarah standing tall, her serene smile still in place. It felt like a lifeline amid his wreckage of despair. As he approached her, he noticed how her eyes were glistening. Was that pride, or tears? He couldn't tell. "Thank you for being here," he said, the words tumbling out like a hesitant confession. Her smile widened, revealing a glimpse of the strength he'd always admired. "David, this isn't just your story. It's ours, and our kids." She stepped closer, the fragile tension between them crackling like static. "Every choice we make now will shape their future. We can't forget that." His heart sank as he remembered their kids, waiting for him to come home and shower them with confidence that their family could heal. They were the ones who needed answers, not the theater crowd. Gathering himself, he spoke softly, "I never meant for it to come out like this. I thought maybe if I made them laugh, it would ease the tension. But I was wrong." Sarah shook her head gently. "You weren't wrong. You just spoke the truth. Raw, unfiltered. That's a hard thing to do." He searched her face, feeling the bittersweet sting of admiration mixed with longing. Why was she so calm when his heart felt like it was being crushed? A flicker of something inside her shifted, and for a moment, the air crackled with possibility. "Can we talk?" she asked. It was an open invitation to dive deeper, to tackle the emotions they had been skirting around for too long. He nodded, his heart skipping. Together, they stepped out of the spotlight and into the cool night air. The stars glittered above, almost mockingly peaceful. David inhaled, the tension loosening slightly. "What's next for us, Sarah?" he asked, the question weighted with uncertainty. "How do we move forward?" She paused, the silence stretching between them like a tightrope. "Maybe we start with understanding what still holds us together, instead of focusing on what pulled us apart." Her voice was steady and filled with a determination that unsettled him but also stirred something warm inside, but as they caught a glimpse of their reflection in the theater's glass doors, cracks marred a once smooth surface, a metaphor for their relationship, perhaps. David's throat tightened. "What about the kids? They deserve to see us happy. What if we can't be that for them anymore?" Sarah stepped closer, her resolve evident. "Maybe being true to ourselves is the best gift we can give them. They will see us grow and change. They will learn that love sometimes means letting go but not forgetting." Her words lingered in the air, opening a world of possibilities. This was not the end, it was a new beginning wrapped in uncertainty. As they stood there, faces illuminated by the faint glow of the theater sign, the promise of something bigger loomed. Could they find a way back to each other through this heartache? Just then, a distant laugh from their daughter pierced through the clouds of doubt, illuminating the weight of their decisions. They both turned toward the sound, a glimmer of hope igniting within them. "David," Sarah began, her voice filled with urgency, "there's something I need to share, something I've kept to myself." Suddenly, the tender bond they had almost lost felt powerful again, and he leaned closer, ready to listen. What secret would unfold next? Would it usher them into a new chapter, or would it shatter everything they thought they knew? "David, I've been thinking about our kids, and us," Sarah blurted out, her breath catching. "The truth is, I haven't just been sitting still while all this unfolded. I've been doing something. Something that could change everything." He could see the fire in her eyes but was also overwhelmed by a wave of anxiety. Change felt like a storm, and right now, their lives were already shaking. "What are you talking about?" he asked quietly, his heart racing. "The kids," she started again, her voice steadying as she spoke. "I've been researching. Looking into therapy, things that could help us all heal. I think we need to face what's happening rather than avoid it." He blinked, confusion knitting his brows together. "You mean family therapy? But, what good would that do?" "David," she said, stepping forward, her urgency bared in her voice, "it could show our kids that we can work through this. That even when things go wrong, we can find our way back. We don't have to choose between love and happiness. We can build both." Her words struck a chord deep within him. The idea of healing, of facing their truth together, felt like a flicker of hope. He remembered the laughter that once filled their home, the dreams they'd had, and the resilience that had carried them through tough times. But doubt flared bright. What if it just brings up more pain? What if it's a mistake? Sarah held his gaze, unwavering. It's a risk, yes. But isn't it worth trying? For us, for them? He could see the determination in her eyes, how it shone like a beacon, and for a heartbeat, he could feel himself wanting to believe. I just wish it didn't feel so complicated. Change always feels complicated, Sarah said softly, her hand brushing his arm. But it's also a chance to rediscover each other, and ourselves. David inhaled deeply, letting her words sink in. He thought of their children, the little faces looking up at them, crying for a certainty that felt it was slipping away. He thought of the laughter and love they had shared, the memories that still lingered like a warm embrace. Was it not worth it? What if it brings up emotions we can't control? He asked, trying to reason. What if we can't go back? Sarah smiled softly, a hint of mischief in her eyes. What if going back isn't what we need? Maybe what we need is to embrace the unknown. To take that leap together. Her face glowed in the glow of the theater lights, and suddenly, for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel alone. In that moment, he was reminded of how much she had always believed in them. Okay, he breathed out, his heart a bit lighter. Let us do it. Sarah's smile widened, lighting up her features in a way he hadn't seen in ages. I think we can start by talking to someone tomorrow. I've already got a name. It's a good place to begin. Tomorrow, he murmured, still feeling the weight of the future pressing down, and yet somehow, for the first time, it felt a little more bearable. As they stood side by side, the laughter of their daughter echoed in the stillness around them, and David realized how intertwined their lives were. They had hardly scratched the surface of what lay before them. Maybe we've got a shot at this after all, he said softly, glancing at Sarah. But just then, they were interrupted by the sound of hurried footsteps approaching. David turned to see their daughter, Meg, her eyes wide with excitement. Mom! Dad! You have to see this. His heart fluttered with uncertainty. What news could come next? He exchanged a quick glance with Sarah, and then followed without hesitation, propelled by the wonder of what the future might hold. Little did they know, Meg's revelation was about to change everything once again. What could it be? David's heart raced as he followed Meg down the dimly lit hallway, confusion swirling in his mind. Sarah walked closely beside him, her hand gently squeezing his as if to anchor him back to the moment. The excitement radiating off Meg was infectious, though fear was still etched across David's face. Meg, sweetie, what is it? Sarah urged, trying to match her daughter's energy. Meg stopped abruptly, spinning around to face them. You have to come see what I found in Dad's old box. David's stomach tightened. Old boxes held memories, remnants of a time that felt so distant and yet so close. He exchanged a glance with Sarah, uncertainty lingering in the air. Okay, let us see it, he said, his voice steadier than he felt. They approached Meg, who was practically bouncing on her heels. With enthusiasm, she led them to the living room where a large cardboard box was half hidden under a pile of blankets. David recalled shoving it there months ago, a misguided attempt to avoid the flood of mixed emotions it contained. I was looking for an old book, and I stumbled on this. Meg exclaimed, her eyes gleaming with discovery. She eagerly began to sift through the box, pulling out battered photo albums, faded drawings, and old concert tickets. Each item held a story, a glimpse into their family's past. As she flipped through the albums, David watched Sarah's face soften. Each photo ignited sparks, smiles, laughter, joy. But then he saw it, pictures of the three of them, moments from vacations, birthday parties, and family game nights. They were snapshots of life before things became complicated. What is this? Meg held up a certificate folded neatly in half. She carefully unfolded it, revealing a piece adorned with gold lettering. It looks like a family award. David stepped closer, his curiosity piqued. The title read, Best Family of the Year, accompanied by the date from several years ago. He remembered that competition. It was meant to bring families closer, a silly contest they had all entered. They had lost track of what made them laugh together. Wow, remember that? Sarah chuckled softly, brushing a finger over the paper. We thought we were hilarious. David nodded, a smile tugging at his lips. That day was filled with inside jokes and laughter, an easy reminder of a time before the storm. But just as quickly as the warmth settled in, doubt flooded back. I wish we could feel like that again, he muttered under his breath. What if we can? Sarah whispered, her voice barely above a whisper but filled with hope. Meg suddenly pulled out a large, brightly colored card. Wait. There's more. She waved it in the air, excitement bubbling over. Look at this. Is it a treasure map? He teased, trying to shake off the heavy feeling building in his chest. Meg giggled, shaking her head. No. It's Mom's old song lyrics. Huh? David leaned in, squinting to read the hastily handwritten verses. It was a song Sarah had written long ago, reflecting the love they had shared. Memories of her singing in the kitchen flooded through him. Suddenly, the room felt thick with emotions, both bitter and sweet. Does it say what I think it says? David asked slowly, feeling his heart constrict painfully. It's about hope, Sarah replied, her voice barely a whisper, eyes shimmering. She took the card from Meg and read aloud, even when the waves crash down, love will rise, holding us close. Mom, can we sing it? Meg implored eagerly, tilting her head as if expecting them to harmonize on the spot. A wave of nostalgia swept over David. Could they really bring back the notes of laughter? Could this be a bridge back to each other? But as Sarah opened her mouth to respond, the front door creaked open. The sound froze them all. Hey, you guys home? It was Mark, their neighbor, who usually stopped by for quick chats. David's heart sank. He didn't want to face anyone right now. Not while they stood at the edge of rekindling something beautiful amid uncertainty. As Mark walked in, his face lit up with a friendly grin. What are you kids up to? A knot formed in David's throat. Would this moment slip away? Would they lose the connection they were beginning to rebuild? Meg's eyes sparkled, can you stay and sing with us? In that suspended moment, as laughter bubbled on the brink and the shadows of their past loomed overhead, David felt the weight of what was fundamentally changing. Could their lives really reshape after everything? As Mark stepped forward, he could sense it, a new chapter unfurling, and he was about to discover what that truly meant for all of them. Mark stepped inside, his energy filling the room like sunlight cutting through the darkness. Singing, huh? What are you rehearsing for? He squinted dramatically at the colorful card in Meg's hand, creating an illusion of surprise. David shifted awkwardly, wishing he could pull back the curtains of time, kick Mark out, and retreat to the safe cocoon of family bonding happening just moments ago. But here they were, with Meg beaming, and Sarah looking tentatively excited. What did he do now? Oh, Meg just found some old stuff of mine, Sarah replied, her voice laced with warmth but edged with a nervous undertone. We were about to revisit some memories. Memories, huh? I love those. Mark chuckled, settling into the couch as if he belonged there, completely unaware of the fragility in the air. He leaned forward, peering at the lyrics written in Sarah's handwriting. What's this? A song? It is, Meg piped up, eyes sparkling with enthusiasm that radiated through the tension. I want us to sing it together. She bounced on her toes, her energy unrelenting. Mark broke into a wide grin. Count me in. I may not be a star, but I can carry a tune. David met Sarah's gaze, the weight of a million unsaid words hanging heavy between them. They were on the verge of something beautiful, something like healing. But could they risk that with Mark being here? Okay, let's give it a shot, Sarah said, her warm smile brave despite her worries. As she nudged David, he felt like he was being tugged into the spotlight. With a shaky breath, David joined Meg and Sarah, their voices merging together as they fumbled through the notes. The first few chords felt rough, but with each line, a hint of the past crept back. Laughter punctuated their mistakes, and for a moment, disbelief faded. They were sharing something pure. Wow! Not half bad. Mark cheered, clapping when they finished. David couldn't help but grin, even if it was just for a fleeting moment. They had pulled together, if only for a song. It felt like something was rebuilding. Can we do it again? Meg asked, bouncing but also looking serious, as if this could undo all the hurt that had passed in their lives, but just as they prepared to dive back in, Mark suddenly glanced at his watch. Oh, man. I've got to run. His smile faltered, and panic flickered across his face. But let's do this again soon, all right? David felt a strange mix of relief and disappointment. Mark's exit left a space where laughter had once thrived. The moment had been torn away too soon, but in its wake, something powerful simmered just below the surface. Thanks for joining us, Mark, Sarah said quickly, and David could hear the hopefulness in her voice behind the uncertainty. As Mark waved goodbye and stepped out, David looked over at Meg. What's next, kiddo? Can we sing more songs, and maybe even write some together? She asked, eyes wide and pleading. Something in her gaze soothed him, kindling the flames of possibility he'd thought were lost. Absolutely. We'll create a whole concert, Sarah interjected. Her laughter spilled into the room, pushing back against the heaviness that had settled after Mark left. David nodded, full of determination. Let's pull out Dad's old guitar, too. Meg's face lit up, and just like that, a flicker of hope ignited within David's chest. Their family wasn't entirely broken. As they rummaged through memories of music and joy, a comforting warmth returned. But that comfort was slippery, like sand between fingers. The question remained, could laughter be a pathway back, or would it lead them deeper into unresolved pain? With each note they strummed, the future felt both brighter and terrifying. As David busied himself with the guitar, he glanced back to Sarah. Her smile was warm, radiating strength, but an unspoken truth lingered in her eyes. Something felt off. What was she really hiding behind that calm demeanor? The moment pulsed with the potential for both connection and doubt. As the first chord strummed, David couldn't shake the feeling that the song was just the beginning, and there were still secrets waiting to be uncovered. David adjusted the guitar in his lap, the worn-wood feeling familiar as he tuned the strings. The sound filled the quiet living room, carrying hints of nostalgia down the hallway. Meg watched him, her excitement bubbling over, while Sarah leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed but a soft smile playing on her lips. He could almost see the gears turning in her mind, just as he felt his heart flutter with a mix of hope and apprehension. Okay, Meg, what song should we play first? He asked, trying to keep the moment light and purposeful. How about You Are My Sunshine? Meg suggested, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. It was a classic, the kind of song their dad used to sing when they were little, wrapping them in warmth and love. Perfect, David nodded, strumming the opening chords. As he glanced at Sarah, he noticed her smile dimmed slightly, the song stirring memories he suspected she'd rather keep hidden. But when Meg joined in, her clear voice bright and sweet, it broke through the heaviness that lingered like shadows in the corners. They sang together, their voices intertwining, filling the room with echoes of laughter and memories. David could see Meg performing like a little star, her hands moving in wild gestures, and for just a few moments, it felt like they were on stage together, united in joy. But as the last note faded, the weight of silence returned, pressing in on them. Again. Meg squealed, bouncing on her toes. Wait a second, Sarah interjected, raising her hand. Let's take a moment. I've been meaning to talk to you both. David's heart sank. He knew this voice, it was the one that often preceded difficult conversations. He met her gaze, searching for reassurance. "Is everything okay?" he asked, keeping his tone even. "Yeah, it's fine. Well, I think we need to clarify some things as a family." Sarah's eyes flickered over to the guitar, then back to them, anxiety creeping into her features. David held his breath, sensing their fragile moment of connection was about to shift. "Like what?" Meg asked innocently, tilting her head. Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but David jumped in, the protective instinct surging back to life within him. "How about we just keep singing? We all love doing that. We can talk later." But Sarah shook her head gently, her expression resolute. "I want to be honest with you both. It's important." A knot formed in David's stomach. He felt vulnerable more so than during their earlier rehearsal. Laughter faded, replaced by an unsettling stillness. "Okay, then," he murmured, both curious and wary. "What do you want to say?" I think it's time we acknowledge how things have changed in our family," she began, voice steady but trembling slightly. "Mark." David clenched the guitar, the name echoed in the room like a storm approaching. "What about him? He wants to be more a part of this family. But that's not what I want. I'm not sure where I stand, and Sarah." Meg interrupted, her voice small but fierce. "Are you breaking up with Mark? You can't be serious." David's chest tightened as he looked between them. A divorce wasn't something to cover lightly, it was a fracture. He felt it ripple through him, threatening to rend the fragile bond they had just begun to rebuild. "I don't know, sweetheart," Sarah said softly, reaching for Meg but halting just short of touching her. "I need some clarity before making any decisions." The air hung heavy, tension coiled between them like a tightly wound string. "What do you want, Mom?" Meg pressed, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "I don't know what I want," Sarah admitted, tears welling in her eyes. "But I do know that I love you both, and I want us to navigate this together." David's heart thudded painfully. What did this mean for them? This conversation felt too big, too heavy. As Meg wiped away a tear, David caught a glimpse of courage in her small frame. "We can figure it out," she said, her eyes fierce and determined. And just like that, David realized they could face this together. It would be hard, painful even, but they had each other, the truth was unraveling. And as uncertainty spread, there was a flicker of hope lighting the darkness. What would that journey look like? And would they find a melody that felt like home again? The answers loomed just out of reach. David's heart raced as the air grew heavier with Sarah's words. He could almost feel the weight of doubt settling into the corners of the room, pulling at their laughter like a grappling hook. Sarah's eyes glistened with unshed tears, reflecting the vulnerability that draped over them like a fragile veil. "Mom, are you saying you're seriously considering this?" Meg's small voice broke through the tension, reminding David of the innocence they had once shared. It tugged at something deep inside him, a protective instinct swelling in his chest. "Yes, Meg," Sarah said, her voice stronger now, though laced with an undercurrent of sorrow. "I don't know what the next step looks like. But I need to be honest. For all of us." The quiver in her voice stung David, an accusation he didn't want to voice. Was honesty truly what they all needed right now? "Well, I don't want everything to fall apart." Meg crossed her arms, her face a mixture of defiance and fear. "I just want our family back the way it was." David watched as Sarah's hands trembled by her sides, guilt creeping into her expression. He could see the invisible weight she carried, the struggle between what was best for them and what she desired. Wrinkles of conflict marred her brows, and he felt something shift inside him. "Mom," Meg continued, determination lighting her features, "we can change things." Can we, though?" David interjected, a sharp edge to his voice surprising even himself. The thought of moving forward felt daunting, like trying to swim through a riptide. We can't act like it's easy to just return to what it was. Her gaze fell, and in that moment, he regretted his words. The tension in the room intensified. No one had asked for this. They were all just trying to find their way through the haze of uncertainty. "I'm still here." The small voice came from the corner. It was Meg, voice trembling yet earnest. "You both talk about what's next, but I'm here, right now. And I need you both." Something in Meg's words struck a chord in David. He looked at her so brave, so ready to cling to hope. "We're a team, right?" she said, her big eyes darting between them. "We always will be," Sarah replied softly, reaching for Meg this time and pulling her into a tight embrace. As the two clung to one another, David felt the stirrings of deep emotions within him. A part of him wanted to look away from the inevitable. Another part longed to dive headfirst into the tempest, to emerge on the other side renewed. "Maybe we should find a new song," he suggested, surprising even himself. The idea of venturing deeper into those uncharted waters echoed in his mind, a slim path illuminated by a flickering candle. "We've sung the old ones long enough. Perhaps we need a new melody." The two looked at him, uncertainty replaced by curiosity. "Like what?" Meg asked, her head tilting slightly, infusing the moment with a playful glint. David hesitated, swallowing hard as the words danced in his throat. "Maybe something that speaks to us, something real. About change. About a family finding their way. Can we write it together?" Meg's eyes widened in excitement as she pulled away from Sarah's embrace, the weight of the conversation settling momentarily. "Together," David repeated, a smile breaking through the fog. It wasn't a solution, but it felt significant, a new direction. As they moved to grab pens and paper, constructing the framework of their song, David didn't realize, amid the harmony of their laughter and chatter, that Sarah's eyes glimmered with a secret, a glimmer darker than any note they'd ever played. Could their new beginning uncover more than just music? What hidden truths lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to unveil themselves? As the ink flowed and ideas buzzed in the room, an unexpected lightness descended upon them. The first notes of a new song began to take shape, blending Meg's playful spirit with David's earnestness. They sat on the floor surrounded by scattered sheets, papers filling their small living room with hopeful scribbles. "Let's start with something simple," David suggested, his fingers tapping against a blank page. "How about we refinding our way, step by step?" Meg clapped excitedly. "Yes. It feels like an adventure." "Adventure," Sarah echoed softly, almost to herself. She wasn't sure how to fit into this renewed rhythm just yet, but watching them, her heart swelled. It wasn't a cure-all, but it was a start. The snippets of melody floated through the air, a sure reminder that maybe their new song could symbolize their new path. Each note carried with it the potential for growth, for healing. But just as the room was filling with laughter, a sharp ping from Sarah's phone shattered the moment. She snatched it quickly, her face turning pale as she read the message. "Sarah?" David sensed the shift, the tension returning. "What's wrong?" Nothing. It's a message from someone at work. It can wait." But it was clear that it couldn't. The urgency in her eyes betrayed her, a storm brewing beneath her calm demeanor. "Mom, who is it?" Meg asked, her brows furrowing with concern. Sarah hesitated. The secret she was holding onto felt like a slippery fish wriggling just beneath her fingertips. She had promised herself she would bear everything honestly. How could she start that in a moment meant for joy? "It's just work, sweetie." She forced a smile, but it looked fragile, like glass on the verge of shattering. David watched her carefully. "If you're worried, we can take a break. Maybe even finish this later?" His voice was gentle, a lifeline thrown to keep her afloat. But Sarah shook her head. "No. I want to keep going," she insisted. Yet her heart whispered differently. A secret. A truth. One that had built up like a pressure cooker, ready to burst at the seams. They resumed their songwriting, but the playful banter was tinged with a sense of fragility, as if they were walking on a tightrope. David and Meg were unaware of the tornado approaching, while Sarah felt helplessly caught in its winds. The call from work wasn't just a message, it was the confirmation of everything she'd been grappling with for weeks. As she tried to focus on the song, Sarah's mind was stuck on 2 words from that message: we need to talk. Maybe we should add something about family sticking together, Meg suggested, her voice pulling Sarah back to the present. Like, through thick and thin, we'll not give in. David grinned at Meg's enthusiasm, but Sarah's heart sank further. What if she couldn't hold up her end of that promise? Of course, she replied, forcing a smile. That's perfect. But the weight of the truth felt heavier than ever, almost suffocating. As the afternoon sun began its descent, casting a warm glow around them, David strummed a few soft chords on an old guitar. The sound filled their home with a warmth that contrasted sharply with the cold secret Sarah was hiding. Just then, the doorbell rang, jolting her from her thoughts. Who is it? David asked, his voice slicing through the tension. I have no idea, she replied, searching his face for reassurances. In that moment, they all felt the shift, a crack formulating in the foundation they had just begun to build. What if it's Meg? Jumped up, excitement breaking through. I'll get it. She dashed off before either of them could stop her. With each footstep she took, Sarah's heart raced. Who could it be? What if it was a harbinger of her hidden truth? When the door swung open, the sight on the other side took everyone by surprise. It would be a moment that changed everything. Hi. I received your letter. The voice belonged to someone from Sarah's past. What would this encounter mean for their fragile hope? Sarah's heart stopped for a moment, then raced as she processed the figure at the door. The tall silhouette framed by the late afternoon sun belonged to none other than Claire, her college roommate and once her closest friend. But that friendship had stretched thin over the years, especially after Sarah's marriage began to falter. Claire, what are you doing here? Sarah managed, her voice laced with confusion. I got your letter, Claire replied, stepping inside with an energy that felt both foreign and familiar. You mentioned needing to talk. I thought, well, I just felt it was time. David and Meg exchanged awkward glances, sensing the emotional tension swirling around them like a snare. Maybe we should step outside? David offered hesitantly, not wanting to intrude on a moment that looked heavy with unspoken words. No, please stay, Sarah said, more to Claire than anyone, her cheeks flushing. She wasn't ready to face this yet, this confrontation between what was left of her past and the uncertain future ahead. Okay, Claire smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. I know things have been rocky for you, Sarah. I thought maybe I could help. Sarah's mind raced. Help? Did Claire know everything? How could she? Meg, ever the perceptive child, felt the weight in the air and spoke up. Mom, is it about the song? We were just writing music. Her innocent excitement cut through the tension, but it felt misplaced. Sarah hesitated. She glanced at David and saw his concerned expression, the way he shifted his weight, ready to support her. No, Meg. It's not about the song. Her voice was steadier than before, and she held on to her resolve. Claire took a step closer and lowered her voice. I heard about the changes at work. I figured life must have thrown you some curveballs and I wanted to tell you that you're not alone. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. The echo of those words sank deep into her heart, a reminder of the support she had both lost and gained. Thank you, Sarah whispered, yet inside her mind, the warning bells rang louder. This talk could rip apart the delicate threads of their reparation, but Claire continued, undeterred. I can help you navigate what might be coming next. You deserve to be happy, Sarah. What do you mean? Sarah asked, her voice trembling. The moment grew heavy as Claire pulled out a chair and sat down, her expression shifting toward concern. The rumors about your divorce. The room felt as if the air itself became thick with unspoken hurt. It hung heavy, straining their laughter and the beautiful melody they had dared to create. What? David interjected, his voice sharp and protective. No one mentioned anything about a divorce. Because I wanted to protect you both, Sarah admitted, looking at David, then down to Meg, who was clearly confused. I didn't want to worry you or Mom, is it true? Meg's wide, innocent eyes glistened with unshed tears, trapping Sarah in a moment she had desperately tried to avoid. The truth lay bare as an ethereal silence glided over the room. Claire's presence unsettled everything Sarah thought she was managing to hold together. This reunion felt like a jar lid loosening, threats of what could spill out. It's complicated, Sarah said. Can we just focus on the song? Is that what you want? Claire pressed gently, her eyes searching. Or do you want to actually talk? Just as Sarah was about to respond, her phone pinged again with that ghosts of a message. She glanced down and her stomach dropped. It's from my boss, she said, her heart pounding. I really need to read this. David frowned, sensing the disarray building. Maybe it's time to call it a day? But something in Sarah snapped. No. I need to unburden. Will she have the courage to speak her truth? Would their song survive the turbulence of unresolved emotions? The air was thick with anticipation as Sarah took a deep breath, willing her voice to steady. Meg looked on, a blend of confusion and concern etched across her face, while David's eyes were filled with a protective fire. Here goes nothing, Sarah murmured, pushing her hair back from her face. I need to be honest, not just for me, but for all of us. The room grew still as she faced her daughter first. Meg, I know this isn't the family you wanted. I'm sorry if it feels like we're falling apart. But the truth is I've been feeling lost for many months now. Mark, he's been there for me, but I didn't want the softness of our past to dull this wave of upheaval. Meg's brow furrowed, and David stepped forward, almost instinctively, a silent show of solidarity. Mom, we can fix it. We need to talk to him. Face whatever's tearing us apart. Meg's voice trembled yet held a fierce determination. The little girl wore her heart on her sleeve, and her innocence struck a chord deep in Sarah. Taking a moment, Sarah reached out, brushing her fingertips against her daughter's cheek. Sweet girl, it isn't just about him. It's about how I've been feeling, and my own confusion about our family. David's gaze softened, but tension still wove through the air. You don't have to go through this alone, Sarah. We're in it together. Just like we're writing that song. We can figure it out. With renewed courage, Sarah's heart leapt at those words, connecting through music, through laughter, and unconditional love. You're right. But I can't come to you both and pretend everything is fine. I've been trying so hard to carry it all, and I must accept that I might need help navigating this path. Claire, watching patiently from her seat, caught Sarah's eye and willed her to continue. It's terrifying to admit that I might want to change my course. I didn't want you two to think I was giving up on our family. That I wanted to keep parts of the life I built with you both. I don't care if you don't want him, Mom, Meg said fiercely, surprising them all. I just want us to be happy, even if that means letting go. Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes, moved by the strength of her child's belief. That's what families do, don't they? They face the tough things and decide what love really means. With each word spoken, walls began to dissolve. The dampened weight of secrets that had lingered, suffocating joy, felt suddenly lighter. David held Sarah's gaze longer, acknowledging the silent struggle they shared, the fear, the grief, and the desire to forge a new path together. Okay, he said gently, let us do this as a family. Let us figure it out, together. You and me, Sarah. Together, Meg echoed again, a chorus of hope rising in the room. The warmth of love began to ignite as they remembered the laughter they shared. They were still standing, still in this as one. Just then, Meg reached for her guitar, handing it to David. "Let us finish the song. We can sing about our journey, about finding hope in the hard times." David, holding the instrument in his hands, found the strings felt familiar, almost comforting. "All right. Let us do it, for all of us." As they fell back into their rhythm, intertwining voices emerged, rising to new heights. The promise of growth filled the living space. And with each note strummed, Sarah felt as if they painted a canvas of their unity, each chord creating colors of understanding, compassion, and hope. "Step by step, we'll find our way, through the highs and lows, come what may." Together, they created a piece that was raw, yet filled with promise, embodying their struggles and victories side by side. Their laughter returned, echoing through the house, weaving threads of healing beneath the song. It wasn't perfect, but neither was life. Each note spoke to the transformation they craved. And yet, amid their harmonizing, a truth lingered, vibrating between the harmonious threads they needed to keep talking. "It's not just about the song, right?" Sarah said as she glanced at David, emotions flaring in their eyes. "Never just about the song," David nodded, radiating a newfound certainty. "Let us keep these conversations alive." As the melody lingered on their lips, Sarah felt a weight lift from her heart. A transformation was in motion, one that promised understanding rather than destruction. As the last strum hung in the air, Sarah realized they were not only creating music, they were building the foundation of a new chapter, one that would allow them to breathe, to grow. And there, nestled in that moment of familial togetherness, she saw hope for their future. It could be bright, vibrant, and filled with possibilities, even if the journey ahead was strewn with riddles wrapped in uncertainty. In that shared space, they were beginning again, not at the end, but at the very beginning of a path they would walk together with love, honesty, and courage. This was their moment. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over them, an unspoken promise lingered in the air. Their story was far from over. And now, dear friends, this is where I need your help. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you inspired. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it's crucial for us. Comment below with your feelings about this ending, your reactions mean the world. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Real fans like you understand how important it is to rally behind the stories we cherish.